Think your weekend hobby is weird? Wait until you meet these people. I'm Nocturnal Curiosity, and today we're diving headfirst into Hobbyland. The weird, the wonderful, and the completely unexpected. Hobbies can go far beyond the ordinary. Welcome to the bizarre, the brilliant, and the surprisingly devoted. I promise you'll laugh, gasp, and maybe question everything you thought about normal. This is a YouTube 16 to 9 piece, and it's coming in at 8 minutes. Fast, fascinating, and funny. We're using a captivating background score, quick cutting visuals, and text overlays for key facts to keep the energy sky high. I'll narrate wild origins, jaw-dropping records, and touching anecdotes that show why people do these things. Stick around for visuals so weird you'll rewind. Extreme ironing started as a spoof sport in the UK in the 1990s, and honestly, that origin alone sounds like the punchline of a joke. But then it snowballed into something people actually compete in. And yes, people iron shirts in ridiculous places. I met a competitor who said the first rule is simple: find the weirdest place possible and make it work. It sounds absurd until you see someone pressing a formal shirt on a cliff ledge with waves crashing below. An ironing board wedged on rock, steam whipping in the wind, someone carefully smoothing a sleeve while harnessed in for safety. Pressing shirts on a cliff edge? Yep. The juxtaposition is the joke and the art. The sport evolved to include kayaks, mountaintops, underwater setups. Equal parts comedy and commitment, like competitive cosplay for chores. There are world championships. Officials score creativity danger technique. Winners get trophies and a moment of pure, online fame. I watched footage of a team ironing atop an ice shelf. It looked like a survival tutorial crossed with an infomercial. The community is small, but fierce. They trade locations and safety tips and treat each session like a performance piece. Extreme ironing blends thrill-seeking with creativity. It's about reframing a chore into spectacle. The rush of finishing a perfectly pressed shirt while dangling off a rock is oddly fulfilling. Even ordinary tasks can be transformed with imagination. So yeah, fact, shock, humor all rolled into one weird hobby. Extreme ironing proves people will go to insane lengths to make the ordinary extraordinary. I left the segment grinning and slightly terrified, in the best way. Origin stories say it started as a group that wanted to do something ridiculous. Now it's a spectacle with rules and records. The very idea is wildly compelling. Dive into mudstrap on a snorkel race. The rules are absurdly specific. No conventional swimming strokes allowed, must use snorkels and flippers. The point isn't elegance, it's getting through a maze of muck faster than everyone else. I watched footage of competitors flailing through brown water faces of determined madness, impossible not to laugh and applaud. There are record times and celebrity entrants who come for the spectacle. The world record times are impressive, given the conditions. People cut through the sludge with surprising speed. Even Olympians have tried it on a dare. Part endurance test, part comedy sketch, all community spectacle. Participants are proud, they celebrate finishes like marathoners. The crowd goes wild for the muddiest, messiest hero. It's about camaraderie, silliness, and proving you can finish. Bog Snorkeling is mud, plus determination, a communal party. Humans love ritualized absurdity. Sometimes the best memories come from getting filthy for fun. Toy Voyaging is wholesome chaos. People send a stuffed toy or action figure around the world with a travel diary. You become a temporary guardian, document the toy's trip and send it on. I pictured a teddy with a passport, a tiny selfie stick. That mental image sold me. These toys visit major landmarks and return with photos, notes, stamps inside a tiny diary. Plush rabbit at the Eiffel Tower action figure on Bondi Beach. A map folded into a tiny origami heart, a note that made the owner cry. Adorable, a little odd, deeply human people project stories onto inanimate friends. Community members exchange tips, packing the toy, photographing the toy, keeping the diary safe. It's not about the toy, it's about the stories it brings home. Memories belong to hosts, tiny notes become heirlooms. Online networks with tracking pages, enthusiastic hosts, a patchwork of global kindness. Some toys travel for years, accumulate scars, collect stickers, treated like VIP guests. Sentimental storytelling, a distributed scrapbook. Nostalgia connection are contagious. Fills a small meaningful space, like a postcard, but with stitched eyes and ragged ears. Sweet, weird, oddly poetic creativity shows up in the smallest packages. Rock balancing looks like magic, but, it's a patient craft. Artists stack stones in improbable formations until the precarious becomes picturesque. Some practitioners treat it as meditation, others as public art. When I first saw footage of a 10-foot tower of stones, I couldn't tell if I was witnessing an art installation or the world's slowest Jenga game. People build record towers and create land art that spans riverbanks and beaches. There are contests and viral clips of towers that seem to defy physics. One artist told me they feel the world slow down when a stone finally sits in place. That tiny click is pure satisfaction. Watching someone balance stones is watching expertise and patience in action. But controversy bubbles up. Park authorities and conservationists sometimes worry about disturbing natural habitats and misleading hikers about safety. Some argue the art disrespects the environment, others say it enhances it. I found conversations online that were intense and thoughtful, showing the hobby sits at an odd intersection of expression and stewardship. Rock balancing teaches patience and impermanence. Many artists soon dismantle their work after photographing it, embracing ephemerality. The act is less about leaving a mark and more about the process of making it. That philosophy felt, unexpectedly profound to me. The impermanent becomes meaningful through intention. In the end, rock balancers create moments of awe that force you to pause and appreciate balance, in stones and in life. It's slow, careful, and quietly powerful. Urbex is the art of exploring abandoned structures, factories, hospitals, theme parks, underground tunnels. It's equal parts history lesson and adrenaline rush. I dove into footage of explorers slipping through boarded windows and stepping into rooms frozen in time. It felt like a ghost hunt for architecture fans. People find rare artifacts, hidden graffiti, forgotten objects that tell stories of past lives. One explorer I met found an untouched arcade with retro games and tickets strewn on the floor, a time capsule of fun frozen mid-play. These discoveries are what make Urbex addictive. You never know what epical detail waits behind the next door. But Urbex has risks and ethics, trespassing, structural hazards, and the moral question of removing or photographing artifacts. Responsible explorers emphasize, take photos, leave nothing. They document history and try to preserve sites digitally without causing damage. That balance between curiosity and respect is central to the community. Urbex also satisfies a human urge to look where others have stopped looking. The hobby is driven by questions. Who lived here? Why was it abandoned? Bee bearding is exactly what it sounds like. People let live bees swarm and cluster on their face like an extravagant vibrating beard. The art has rules, technique, and an odd kind of tenderness. Beekeepers attract bees using queen pheromones, careful handling, not reckless bravado. The beard forms because thousands of worker bees cluster around the queen on the chest or face. Professionals monitor temperature, bee behavior, timing to keep everyone safe. It's a precise practice disguised as a spectacle. There are world records, largest bee beards, longest holds. Competitors prepare with protective rituals and expert teams. Some entrants have set records by carrying tens of thousands of bees. Watching footage, I couldn't help but respect the trust between human and insect. It's one of the strangest fashion choices nature ever offered. Imagine choosing your look based on how many bees want to hang out with you. People joke about it, but the hobby connects practitioners deeply with bees and the environment. It's an education wrapped in spectacle. At its heart, bee bearding is about connection and respect for nature. It requires knowledge, patience, humility that comes from placing yourself in the company of a community you don't control. Weird? Absolutely. Inspiring? Also, absolutely. Goat yoga started as a farm novelty, exploded into a global trend. Tiny goats roam and sometimes stand on participants during poses. I tried to imagine a serene yoga studio interrupted by a goat hopping onto your back mid-downward dog. Then I watched the viral clips. The chaos is pure joy. Goats photobomb classes, nibble hair ties, and occasionally use people as high-value perches. One instructor told me the best marketing line was bring your mat and your sense of humor. Goats casually sitting on your spine, kids laughing uncontrollably, adults somehow more relaxed than they've ever been. It's gone from farm novelty to worldwide trend with classes in studios, parks, and even corporate retreats. The combination of novelty and animal therapy has real benefits. Stress reduction. It's therapy disguised as a meme, and people love it. Some purist scoff fans argue the animals are well cared for, and the practice promotes human-animal bonding. I chatted with a goat yoga teacher who emphasized training and welfare. Happy goats make for happier classes. The trend shows how playfulness can reshape wellness rituals. Novelty and animal therapy combine into a silly, sweet hobby that makes mindfulness a lot harder to take seriously. In the best way, goat yoga turns exercise into a social, heartwarming spectacle that people keep coming back to. Miniature food making. hyper-real little dishes smaller than a thumbnail. It's one part sculpture, one part culinary illusion, and entirely addictive to watch. I fell down a rabbit hole of tiny pizzas, microscopic sushi, and the level of detail made my regular lunch look embarrassingly slapdash. Creators use specialized tools like dental picks, sculpting needles, and homemade molds to craft each grain of rice or smear of sauce. Some tiny chefs even cook under a magnifying lamp to get textures perfect. The surprising detail is that many ingredients are real or realistic substitutes. It's craft and chemistry colliding. Viral creators have made careers of it with ASMR-adjacent videos showing hands the size of skyscrapers assembling a full course. Fans obsess over precision. A sesame seed placed with tweezers becomes a moment of reverence. I spoke to a miniature artist who said the satisfaction comes from matching imagination to scale. There's an obsessive precision to the hobby, hours for something you can barely see without a loupe. But people love it because it's joyful, whimsical, and puts craftsmanship on display in tiny canvases. The result is art you can smile at and then, if you're weird like me, photograph from 10 angles. Ultimately, miniature food making celebrates scale and craft. It reminds us that joy can come in small packages and that patience produces wonder. Watching a minute meal assembled. Why are people drawn to such unique hobbies? Because weird is a doorway, to play, to community, to self-expression. Each ritual rewires a mundane moment into a story we can feel. They're not just pastimes, they're pathways to identity. Some preserve history, some challenge fear, some make small things feel huge. And yes, they're hilarious, which is part of the magic. Impermanence makes the moment matter. Respect turns spectacle into trust. Craft turns patience into joy. Challenge turns absurdity into pride. Audacity turns chores into legends. Across the globe, humans remix the ordinary into the unforgettable. Proof that creativity isn't rare, it's relentless. So the next time your hobby feels odd, lean in. You might just discover a community, or invent one. I'm Nocturnal Curiosity. Thanks for exploring the bizarre with me. If this made you laugh or think, tap subscribe, drop your strangest hobby in the comments, and share this with your weirdest friend. We've barely scratched the surface, more odd wonders coming soon. Stay curious.